Yeah, good morning again. Now, Eric Roth is with us. He's the CEO of Capella Minerals. Capella has 3 projects in Scandinavia, in Finland and Norway, and 2 joint ventures in Canada. And please, Eric, start.
Thanks very much, and thank you for joining me this morning. So it's a pleasure to be here. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the company, we are Capella Minerals. Our primary listing is in Toronto, so it's the TSX-V. We do also have a secondary listing in the US, which is the OTCQB. We also do trade here in Frankfurt under the symbol N7D2. So as mentioned in the introduction, at the big picture, we are a gold and a copper company. We have projects in Scandinavia and also in Canada. So we have a good jurisdiction. All of our projects are in very good jurisdictions. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the projects in a moment. This photograph here is an overview of our Skjolde project in Norway. We like to show these kind of photographs because the project is above the tree line. We have no forests here, and there's no people out in this area. So people often think that places like Norway, there's people everywhere, but here we have a situation where we have no people basically in the project area. Just on a corporate, I will make one note too, that one thing we did do this first quarter was ESG compliance. One of the reason for doing that, so that's the environmental, social governance. One of the reasons for doing that was a lot of the European funds who looked at the portfolio said, we like the projects, we like the team, but we would like to see some ESG accreditation. So we are one of the few companies of our size that does have ESG accreditation. The forward-looking statements you would have seen before. What I'll do is I'll take you through the portfolio as it currently stands. So if I just go from left to right, there's no particular order here. So we have 2 gold projects in Canada. The first one is a joint venture with Yamana Gold, which of course is one of the mid-tier producers in Canada. It's a 70-30 joint venture. The project is a fairly advanced stage exploration project. It has about 10,000 meters of drilling on it so far. It is going back into permitting. But I will be sitting down with Yamana in Toronto in 2 weeks' time just to decide the next steps for taking that project forward. The second project we have in Canada is called Savant Lake. This is a joint venture with Prospector Metals. They were previously known as Ethos Gold, and they are part of the Discovery group of companies. So a very strong partner to have on the project. In this case, they are earning into the project. They have people on the ground at the moment, and the plan is to be drilling here during the third quarter. So there'll be some good news flow in the very near future in terms of drilling on this project. I should also mention too that as part of that deal, so Capella has also received cash and share payments along the way, and those are things that sit in our back pocket, particularly the Prospector metal shares, which we can sell at any point and put back into treasury and reinvest into the business. If I look at Scandinavia, so we have 3 projects in Norway, 2 of which are acquired from EMX Royalty, and EMX is also here at the symposium as well. So the projects as stands, so we have the Skjolde and Lochen projects. They were the original acquisitions. So these are former mining districts, and these were mines that were in production until the mid-1980s. So 2 things happened in Norway in the mid-1980s. First of all, obviously oil was discovered, so that took a lot of the focus away from mining. The second thing, of course, that happened in the mid-1980s is that copper prices dropped. So all of these underground operations were not economic at those price levels, of course. We're talking about $1,500 a ton copper, whereas now we're sitting at $10,000 a ton copper. So it's a completely different scenario. The other thing I will mention too, these assets, these massive sulfide deposits, they are multi-commodity, so it's copper. There's also zinc and cobalt in these, and also some gold and silver credits. So the original acquisitions were Skjolde and Lochen. We did in April acquire an advanced stage project called HighGrades. So this is a project that actually has a resource on it. It's about 3 million tons at about 2.2% copper equivalent. It sits in the Skjolde district, and the strategy here is essentially building a mining district with a central processing facility and with feed coming in from the different projects. We also have 1 gold project in Sweden, which is called Southern Gold Line. So this is actually in the same belt as Barsele. We also have Dragon Mining with us, very close to us with 2 projects, one called Svartliden, the other one called Fabuliden. So this is a belt where there are known multi-million ounce deposits, and we are exploring in that belt as well. Also, late last year, we acquired a project from Cullen Resources in Finland. So this is in far northern Finland. This is in the central Lapland greenstone belt. It's called Katejavaara and Arkanes. And the good thing here is that this is a project that has very good gold targets and also a number of copper targets as well. So it's a very exciting project, and I'll explain a bit more about those as we go forward. So in terms of the general capital structure, so market cap at the moment is actually about 9 or 10 million Canadian, so it's really nothing for the scale of the portfolio that we have. If I look at the major shareholders that we have, so the Frucht Express is the biggest shareholder that we have. They basically are an Austrian group. They've bought on market the 19% in Capella, and just on the strength of the copper projects in Norway. So they're very bullish on the Norwegian assets. The two Canadian corporates we have are Sandstorm Gold and also EMX Royalty, and management also has just under 10% there. So, and as I mentioned, we do have those marketable securities and prospector metals, which we can liquidate at any point in time and reinvest back into the business. Just a little bit about who we are. It's one thing to have good projects. It's also important to have good management. So I won't go into all the details here, but some of you may remember us from the Mariana days. So we had a high-grade discovery in Turkey called Hodmarden, which was acquired by Sandstorm in 2017. Before then, I was CEO of a company called Deutsche Gold Mines, which had the Cerro Moro discovery in Argentina, and that was acquired by Yamana in 2012. So I guess the important thing for it to think about is that we do have a track record of discovery, identifying resources, and then taking the projects through those mining studies. So this is just a little bit of background on the Norwegian assets. So as I mentioned, we have 3 projects here. I'll talk about first the first 2, which is Hesjegruva and Skjoli. So these are in what we call the Røros mining district. We do have a large project in Skjoli is a very large land package. It's about 250 square kilometers that surrounds 2 former mines, one of which is called Skjoli, the other one is Skillingdal. We've completed the drill target generation work. We now have permits in hand for drilling up to 4,000 meters in up to 25 holes on that project. So we are basically ready to go for when the time is right to drill. We also just acquired in April the Hesjegruva project, which is in the southwest there. This is the advanced stage project I mentioned. This has the 3 million tons at about 2.2% copper. Relatively small resource at the moment, but good potential to grow. Keeping in mind this sits in actually multiple lenses, and that's only the resource from one of the 6 lenses that we know in that project. So good potential to grow. And I will also mention too, where it says new Capella claims, this is new ground that we staked in just recently. It's an old process facility. So remember, this is a very old mining district. So there's been mining here before. So Kongensgruva, there was actually a process plant and a tailings dam there. And the strategy for us here is basically to use that as a central processing facility. And any discoveries, basically the feed can be brought into that central facility. This is just a section through Hesjegruva. I think the main point to take away here is that on the right, that's a section through the ore body. What you see is the very last hole there, which is it was about 14.5 meters at almost 5% copper equivalent. So very, very high grades. The other thing to keep in mind too, these have a lot of cobalt in them, which was never recognized before. They also have a lot of zinc in them as well too. So the main commodities here are copper, zinc, and cobalt. Because of the topography, we are also looking at putting an adit into the side of the hill, getting into the mineralization, which has 3 benefits. One is it gives us access to the mineralized body. The second thing is it gives us the option of drilling underground or from underground to look for down dip extensions. And the third thing too is that can also become part of future mining infrastructure. So we are looking at that possibility. The plan here for Hesjegruva is basically before the end of the year to get it through some of these to a PEA or scoping level mining study, with the idea that next year we'll continue with the feasibility work and also permitting for production. Lochen, so this is now just to the west of Skjoli, so this is a slightly different, geologically it's slightly different, but this was actually the largest known deposit of its class anywhere. It's a massive sulfide deposit. Where it says former Lochen mine, it's actually a 4-kilometre long ore body. It reaches the surface in the east, it's a kilometre deep on the west. And interestingly, from here they mined 24 million tonnes at 2.3% copper, 1.9% zinc, so it was a big deposit. It closed in the mid-1980s. And what we have been doing here is looking at some of both the extensions to the old Lochen mine plus some of the satellite deposits to the main mine itself. So the plan here is June, July, we will complete the target generation work, go into permitting, and the plan is to be drilling here come October. So they were the 3 Norwegian assets. I'll talk a little bit about the Finnish assets too. As I mentioned, we are in the central Lapland greenstone belt here. So this is what you see in yellow there is the 200 square kilometre property that we've acquired. Along this belt, for those who are following companies in northern Finland, you'll know that there's some of the big discoveries have been made there recently. You have Rupert Resources with Ikkari. You have Orion, which is very active in the belt. You have B2 Gold. And of course, the Capella gold mine, which is the biggest gold mine in Europe, sits just off our eastern margin there. So this is a project that we picked up last year. We've done some initial field work. We've done a high-resolution magnetic survey. But I'll just explain now why we really like this project, and I won't get too complicated with the geology here. But the key thing is we've completed this high-resolution drone magnetic survey. Some good targets have come out of it. In the northwest, we have an old Outokumpu mine, which is called Sadapora. We've been looking at extensions to the northwest and also to the southeast of that. And also, in the centre of the property, there was a former Anglo-American did some geochemical prospecting here about a decade ago, and they generated some very good copper-gold anomalies from the till assays. So that will be a focus for us in terms of pushing this project forward towards drilling. So very exciting project, early days for us, but very exciting as well. A couple of quick comments on the Canadian projects. So this is Savant Lake. This is the one I mentioned that Prospector Metals is earning into. Really what we're looking for is high-grade gold in iron formations, and in fact deformed iron formations. We're looking for a repetition of the nearby Musselwhite mine, which is operated by Newmont. So really what we are looking at here, we have people on the ground now, and as I say, the plan is in Q3 to be drilling this, and so that will be the first drill program. There are some, might be a bit hard to see, but there are some yellow target areas on there. For example, there's gold up to 140 grams a tonne on surface, which has never been drilled before. So some pretty exciting targets there for the upcoming drill program. And just a couple of comments here on Domain. So Domain, this is the project in Manitoba. This is the 70/30 JV with Yamana. As I mentioned, we do have almost 10,000 metres of drilling on this. It's not too far away from the first resource, but we will be sitting down with Yamana here in a couple of weeks' time to really define the strategy for how we best take this project forward. So, value drivers. So what's going to drive the value for the company in the second half? If I look at where we are today, so Q2, we did complete the Hesjegruve acquisition. That's the copper, cobalt, zinc project in Norway, which complements very nicely the Skjolde project. We've done that new staking in that Kongensgruve area, which I mentioned was the old processing facility nearby. We've also completed the drone magnetic survey in Finland, so that's a huge step forward in terms of the target generation. And we had some drill permitting underway in Domain as well. So what's coming up now, the second half of the year, it's going to be a very busy year for us. First cab off the rank will be core drilling. So this will be the diamond drilling program at Savant Lake. So this is, and of course, this is funded by Prospector Metals, so we don't need to contribute to this joint venture at this point. In terms of the 2 Norwegian projects, Lochen and Skjolde, so as I mentioned in the case of Lochen, we are completing the drill target generation work here in June and July, the idea being to be ready for drilling by October. And we have the permits in hand for the Skjolde project, which was the second of the original projects that we acquired. In parallel, we will be pushing the Hesjegruve acquisition. That's the advanced stage project with the 3 million tonnes at 2.2% copper through to some of these initial mining studies. So it'll be a very active period for us. And then the plan is obviously with the Finnish assets too. Best time to work in Finland is in the winter when the ground is nice and hard. So we will be looking at coming in and doing some more work and probably some drilling in the next winter here in Finland. So it'll be a very active program, and I guess if anybody would like some more information on any aspects, I'm just here in room number 19. So,
okay. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks very much.